Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Catching up with Umphrey's, McGee's, Joel, and Ryan.
Can I just say that your last album, I think, is the best thing that you guys ever did out of the studio. The production value on it, everything about it. And Joel, I think we had touched a little bit about COVID and being off the road, so you could focus on that. How do you think that experience of the last album is going to push with the next one?
I'm going to let this plane fly over real quick. I live just west of the Santa Monica airport, so get a lot of action here. Kids are big fans of planes, though, as a result, so we'll take that, Yeah, kind of like we were saying, the last album, every Umphrey's album for that matter, kind of has its own vibe, and that's something that we've consciously gone after, not trying to recreate the same thing that we've already done. And, we ended up a little bit in kind of like a dream pop space, I would say, with some of the music from Asking for a Friend. Of course, so many things in there that are also signature elements of what you would consider the Umphrey sound or the Umphrey style. But I think we really focused on trying to have great melodies in there and really have as much melodic content as possible. A couple albums before that, I feel like we're a little more in the rock vein, and we were going for more, kind of the heavier riff vibe. So there's still a lot of that, and Asking for a Friend, but I think now that we've kind of hit on that dream pop space a little bit, that's another thing that is sort of an option for us moving forward. But I think listening to the 15 or so ideas that are now like closer to being completed forms, it really feels like we have so much potential to have. I don't know. There's something to me that when I hear a riff and I really connect with it, that there's magic in that riff or in that melody, and it's something that's pretty intangible. I can't really tell you why that happens or why it makes me feel that way. So a lot of it for me is just trying to hone in on those things and trying to get those pieces of the puzzle to be significant parts of our songs that we're trying to create.
Yeah, I just think it's too early to tell. There's a lot of good stuff in there, but we haven't really, crafted it into the concept or the order. But we are definitely excited about what we have marinating.
Yep.
Yeah, the focus I think on the song construction in that last one, I think really stood out to me. And it sounds like you all are kind of following that path right now with kind of taking your time, letting things sit a little bit. Do you think you might have a little more improvisation kind of focus on this new one, or you might keep it a little more like the last one, where it was like straightforward on architecture of the songs in that way?
That's a great question, and I think it's still a little early to tell. I think during COVID, whether we admit it or not, had a huge effect on that record. Everybody was locked down, some more than others, depending on what part of the country you lived in. And I think a tip of the cap to Brendan for his composition specifically. He really focused on three chords and the truth, and there was some of the bass parts I didn't even change. I just loved how simple and repetitive they were, and I thought that it focused on the content of his lyrics and getting across that we're not these excuse my French here, but these 12-year-old boys jerking off all the time. We can be like a mature wine, and some of it was like, hey, you don't have to prove everything through being a virtuoso on your instrument right there, but the simplicity of that bed is beautiful. And I think a few of those songs stood out to me, and we have some of those in the pile, but we also want to go back to some of our roots where we want to do some of the progressive rock and the sections A through J, if they make sense in the flow. So it's too early to tell what's going to come of it, but I know that when you go on the comment section of the fans, you get both. Some really appreciate the simplicity, and some really miss the necessary or unnecessary, depends on who you're asking, right, Joel? Complicated jazz prog rock. So I think we're just gonna see what comes of what we have, but there's definitely a taste of both right now.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've kind of talked to our guitar players about is definitely continuing to focus on writing those two guitar line melodies and these intricate guitar parts where they're doing stuff that lines intertwining and harmonizing, and to me that's such an important part of our sound. Songs like Jajunk or The Bottom Half that have these really cool intricate double guitar lines going on. To me, that's one of those areas where we can kind of set ourselves apart from a lot of other bands in the scene who don't have that ability to, or maybe they don't even have two guitar players, right? So, so I think we're definitely going to see a lot of that happening in here. And, I think we're going to have a few of these songs that are a little more stretched out and maybe some longer compositions and might be considered a little more in the the jam world, the jam sphere. So we've learned over the years that we can we can morph into all these different types of styles of what Umphrey's McGee is. So we'll see where those things go. But I think more than anything in the past, we definitely feel like there are all these open roads that we could take, and it's nice to have that as an option.
One last thing too is Joel and I usually in the past, Brendan as a singer songwriter writes a lot of songs by himself. Jake also does that. Jake and Joel have gotten together a lot over the years, flying and recording at their studios, and I've written a lot at home in my own studio. But this is the first time, Joel and I got together with Greg. So it's interesting because the six of us all have very different influences, even to what we're listening to today. And what you're listening to, you're often influenced by. So it was nice for Joel and I to get together and come up with new creative ideas of stuff that Umphrey's has never tried or done before. Not sure if it's going to work, but at least we have these on the table to kind of hear, without being specific or giving anything away. These conversations came out a lot. What if we tried this, did it like this? We've never done that before. Wow, that could work. That's a good idea. That's as vague as I'm going to be, but it's different and it's new, whether it's the way we sing or the lyrics or the compositions themselves. So it'll be exciting, but it will definitely be Umphrey's McGee.
Yeah, there was one thing that comes into mind in particular, and it's part of the song that we were just talking about where Chris came in and played drums, where we ended up in this very sort of Headhunters vibe. And I was you guys were sticking on this riff and I was playing chords, changing the chords over the top to kind of give it a different feel with each bar there. And that's something, superimposing different chords over a riff is a very, very Herbie move. So I was doing that with Rhodes, and that was one to me that really clicked, that I was happy about, that felt like it was a bit of a departure from what we would usually do with Umphrey's.
Mm-hmm. I know that just a couple of days ago, Staircase was released on Stephen Colbert's channel from Red Rocks this past summer.
That's it.
Number one, I guess, how did that work? Does he reach out to your people? Because it seems like that's something that, would probably require a fair amount of planning. And just how does that feel to have that up there as part of that series?
Well, Colbert always reaches out to us. He's a huge fan, so
Nice.
He lives down the street from me, so he tapped me on the shoulder at the co-op before we got some frosé. And he was like, "You guys any time?"
Frosé. Yeah, you need that in Charleston. Hot summer nights,
Frosé. Yeah.
Well, you guys do have a fan though. Around the Horn guy, didn't you do this theme song for Around the Horn?
We did. Tony Reale is the host of that. And, the producer of that show, Aaron Solomon, was the original Umphrey's fan. But it's great. They brought, Tony came out to a show. Kevin Blackstone came out to a show. Pablo Torre came out. There was one other, Frank Isola, I think is his last name. Frank came out too. I might be missing someone, but yeah, that whole crew we ended up really connecting with, and that was pretty sweet to have. And I feel like we had a lot of new random people getting exposed to, being like, I've heard of your band. How have I heard of your band? We'd be like, oh, well, do you know what Around the Horn is? Oh yeah, I watch it all the time. We're on that. Okay, But yeah, I think we got I'm pretty sure this was a Kevin Browning thing that he got us involved in the Colbert universe. So, when we originally planned to do it, I think it was supposed to be an in-studio thing, but with the pandemic and everything, they weren't taping in studio again. So they were doing all these, remote recordings, and they gave us the option to do it wherever we wanted. So we thought, why not do it at Red Rocks?
Empty.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Hold on. I want to say something out loud before I forget it. The song that I think we were calling Serendipity with Dwayne, that you and I were working on, Ryan, in Nashville, Brennan and I had gone through, and we actually had another section that I completely forgot about until right now, which made me think of this. Do you remember the Until We Meet Again? Ended up on a Hall of Fame album, I think from 2014. It was from Austin. It's the I'm just trying to say this. Da, 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 da. Remember that?
No.
Okay. Well, we had tried to put it in a different song, and it was at a faster tempo. And a few of us were like, the faster tempo kind of takes the power away from the vocal. And so Brennan and I were like, oh, it'll totally work in Serendipity with Dwayne. And then I forgot to bring that up when we were hanging out with Greg. So I'm going to write him and mention this to him and see if we can shoehorn this thing in there somewhere.
And we are all so happy you told us that, Joel.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, listen.
Breaking news.
When this song is a hit, we can go back to the All That Jam podcast. And
there it is.
Future you can thank present me.
You're welcome.
All right, one last question. Do you guys want to have a hit record?
Well, I mean,
it.
I'd like to have a medium hit record, not a hit record in the sense that
Not a touch of gray.
Now we have to play these 3 songs every show. Yeah. A smit, a medium hit.
I'll answer that question. Yeah, I'd love to have a hit song. I don't think I'll disagree with Joel. I don't think that if we have a hit song that we have to play it every night. In the 25 years that I've been in this band, I don't think that anybody has told us what to do. And if they have, we certainly have not listened, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, Touch of Grey, the Dead didn't play it every night, and it made it up to number 9 on the top 40.
It got up there. Yeah, my answer is firm yes. I'd love to write a hit.
Well, I think you guys have, and I told Joel this before. If Silent Type had come out in 91 or 92, you guys would have been MTV darlings, especially with that video. Even though people probably wouldn't have understand what texting was.
Yeah, right.
Well, thanks for that, Kevin. Appreciate it. We have we definitely do joke around that we have. We're like, hey, we just need to play the hits tonight, okay? We know what that means. We have Umphrey's hits, the hits that weren't,
Right. Yeah. Well, when I ask newer bands, I'm like, when you're writing set lists, do you feel like you have to include the hits? And sometimes they'll look at me and I'm like, the songs that the guy who only knows one song had showed up. Yeah. He wants to hear that song.
Unfortunately, due to our analytics and the people behind the scenes, those people don't make it to the front. We have too much information to make sure that whichever city or region we're in, that we purposely do not repeat songs. So we're kind of rewarding the loyalists that come out, that they're going to get different songs. And even when Joel and I craft a set list, we try to not replicate what we did the last time, whether it's flow, tempo, keys, feel, vibe, all of that goes into consideration.
Yeah, I think it's very easy, especially in our scene, and you've seen it to some extent with The Dead or Fish, where songs end up in a certain place almost all the time, and it's the same slot in a set list. So that's something I think we've actively really tried hard to not do that sort of thing, and to surprise people by playing, a song that they expect to hear late in the night, as like the second or third song of the night. Um, that sort of changing things up. I think we've really tried to make an effort to keep that element of surprise. And I mean, we want our fans who've come to 100 shows to feel like, I want to come to another 100, not like, okay, I figured out what this band does and now I don't need to come see them anymore. So, and I think we have more people than not that do come to multiple shows, and that, if we have a run of stuff, they'll want to come to multiple nights. So, with the catalog that we have now, I mean, we have maybe 300 original tunes and probably a little over 200 that we actually play every year, at least once or twice. So there's so many songs that we've written that we can play. And, I love some of the older things that we did. I feel like Crooked One is an example of a tune that maybe in 2021 or so, we started playing a little bit more. We were like, oh, the vibe and the improv on this stuff is like feeling really good. So, songs come in and out of the rotation as more commonly played. And sometimes you just got to ride the wave. If it's a tune that's feeling good, keep playing it.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.